You're watching 613 Creatives. At 613 Creatives, we're getting to know and connecting the filmmaking talent of Eastern Ontario. As always, a big thank you to our audience for tuning in, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with their fellow filmmakers. So heads up to our subscribers. We are now a YouTube-only show. And here we aim to showcase the astounding richness of creativity that exists in the region. Check out our other episodes and let us know what you'd like to hear or if you have a story to tell. My guest today is a local actor who graduated from Cégep de l'Outaouais in cinema and University of Ottawa in theater. He started acting in 2018 and has since been in award-winning shorts, indie films, and McDonald's commercial. He's a very detail-oriented creative and a team player on set with a strong will to make the vision of the director work however possible. Please join me in welcoming to the show, Dmitri, Abdul, Nour. How are you, Dmitri? Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So yeah, we were talking before the show, and you filled me in on some of your background, and that's pretty impressive, I must say. One thing that really stood out was that got me curious. Was the cinema program that you took? What tell us more about that? What were some of the key takeaways you had from this program?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you mentioned, I was studying cinema at the Cégep de l'Outaouais in Gatineau. I wanted to learn more about filmmaking. I wanted to learn more about stuff like documentaries and storytelling and all that jazz.
Right.
And I think, to me, the program did a pretty good job. There was a lot of theory, but all that theory we were applying it on set. Like, we had projects to create.
Right.
We had we had our own like place to rent gear for our projects and stuff like that, free of cost, of course. No, we had a nice time. I think it really helped me to adapt to different types of people that you can work with in the entertainment industry. Some people are very outgoing. Some people are really not talkative at all.
Right.
Like, they're
Keep
not
themselves.
social. Yeah. But I liked my professors. They really liked what they did. They really enjoyed what they were teaching. I liked learning about documentary. Of course, like the not the stigma, but the stereotype of like a cinema program from someone looking from the outside. They would be like, "Oh, you watch movies all day? Is that what you guys do?" There is a truth to that, but it's because it makes us better storytellers.
Yeah, you got to be a lover of movies if you want to make them.
Of course. I was the type of person like looking forward to like finishing something and moving on to the next thing. Cégep provided me with a lot of good tools. And yeah, that's pretty much it, in my opinion.
Sounds like a pretty interesting program. There's some. I know it sounds like there were some parallels to the program I was in. I was in the film production program in Thunder Bay in the mid '90s, and back then the stigma was not only if you're in the film production program where you sit around and watch movies all day, but the frequent question is, do you smoke pot and watch movies all day? Jumping from cinema to theater, you also mentioned that, well, as I mentioned earlier, you were at U of O in theater, and that's I have a bit of a theater background myself, working in theater. Yeah, what was your theater experience like?
Sure. Are you talking specifically at Ottawa U or just in general?
Yeah, either or, like just your theater experience from then onward.
The environment was totally different. It was like, I think because it was smaller, it was warmer. Like, the professors loved what they did, what they were teaching, and like I really really enjoyed it. It really, like, I guess, made me come out of my shell more.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Okay.
because in back in high school, I was a really shy person, and
Mhm.
then I took a gamble, and I decided to host the Christmas show that we have at high school, and I really came out of my shell. And theater at Ottawa U helped even better to help me become a better actor, to become more empathetic,
Mhm.
to be able to like feel the energy of my partners, and like with all the games that we were playing, all the connection that we had to our voice, to our body through movement classes, through all that kind of stuff. It was really really good. But I think, you know, when you're sitting in a classroom or you're doing kind of the same thing all the time, you get bored really fast.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, I don't know if you believe really in astrological signs and
No,
stuff
I
like
do
that.
actually have a Capricorn tattoo on my back.
Oh, okay, okay. Do you like if you go on a date, are you gonna ask a girl, "Hey, what's your sign?" Is that one
Hmm.
of your first questions you're gonna do? Or
Back in the day, it probably came up, but wouldn't be my opening line.
there you go, there you
Yeah.
go. But basically, like I don't know if it, because I'm a Gemini, like I have like dual personality, so I get bored really quickly.
All right.
But after 3 years at university, I really wanted to use what I learned out there, right? And most of the theater that I've done outside of Ottawa U, I did plays at Ottawa U. We did Antigone from Sophocles,
Oh,
the Greek
wow.
tragedy.
That's a big deal.
Um, it is, it
Mhm.
is. It was my first play ever, like at a university level.
Wow.
Then we went to, I did a bit of Ottawa Little Theater as well.
Mhm.
There was a play that came out for the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare. It
Oh,
was called The Book of Will,
okay.
that came out a while back. That was my first time acting at Ottawa Little Theater,
Oh,
and it was quite the experience. Again, just being surrounded by wonderful creatives just brings that energy and positivity out of you.
hmm,
The rehearsal schedule is tedious. The performance schedule as well is very tedious because you have like 3 weeks of shows afterwards.
all right.
But I enjoyed it, and I enjoy theater because like especially in that play, because you got to find new stuff to do on in front of people and see if it stuck, if it worked. So
Right.
like you were discovering your character as you were going. I think that's the beauty of theater when you do it.
Hmm.
And other than that, I did live history. I don't know if you heard about that company. It's so basically live history. When there's like the anniversary of an event, let's say there was a riot that happened in Buckingham, Quebec in 1906. They would like you choose actors to portray real life people that were affected by this conflict.
Okay.
And this one really puts you on your toes because it's mostly improv. You're basically adapting
Oh,
to what the public is giving you. Like you
okay.
talk to people as this character that you're playing.
All right.
I was recently in Elmer as well, like in Elmer. There's like right next to like the harbor. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
There is a mansion, a hotel that was very historic there.
Oh,
And basically, we were talking about the story of the Match Girls, the Match Girls.
yeah.
In Gatineau, when you cross next to the bridge, the Chaudière Bridge,
Hmm.
there's that factory, the Eddie factory, where the Match Girls were working.
Right.
And there's literally a picture of them on that same street back in um, I think it was like 1918, 1920.
Wow.
And that street has not changed since then. It's like
Oh,
literally like this. It's like
Wow.
After every time I like drive by it, I reminisce from it. And I
That's
was
cool.
playing this. I was playing like in that live history show. I was playing a guy that worked in the matchmaking factories and was affected by all the chemicals of that
Okay.
factory. And of course, the big shot businessman, Mr. Eddie, didn't believe in all of that.
Right.
He didn't believe in like fair wages, businessman like. But it was really interesting to do this kind of play. I'll shut up now.
No, I mean, that's what we're here for, to hear these stories. Did that experience lead to other things, lead to other opportunities?
I worked with one of my professors from university. He was doing a very experimental play on the poems of Mahmoud Darwish. Mahmoud Darwish, basically, he's an Egyptian Palestinian poet.
Oh, wow.
And it was during like all the fights that were happening in Gaza and all that kind of stuff. So it was very, very relevant. And to being able to showcase my Middle Eastern culture on stage,
Mm-hmm.
I really love that. And
That's cool.
yeah, I guess from life history, it did help a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really connected, to be honest,
All
but
right.
it was just when you get an opportunity, like I saw it on Facebook, I saw that my professor was doing a play, and I just, out of curiosity, I just
Mm-hmm.
talked to him. So it's really about when the opportunity is in front of you
Yep.
to decide what you're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never know how small a part, what it might, regardless of how big the part is, it might, you never know what it might lead to, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, jumping back to cinema, you mentioned to me that you were in a couple of award-winning shorts, and so how did you get involved in those? What was the experience like?
Yes. So basically, my first award-winning short, I would say. I don't know if you know Julian Bate Verget.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. Well, he's a filmmaker in the Ottawa area.
Okay,
I'm plugging him right now.
that's what we're here for.
So yeah, that's true. So basically, I started going on Ottawa Filmmakers. I joined Ottawa Filmmakers, which Vincent Valentino basically runs, and
Mm-hmm.
you had him on your show earlier too.
Yep.
He's lovely. He just
He's
loves the community.
yeah, amazing guy.
Amazing guy. And
Mm.
basically, I just was scrolling on Ottawa Filmmakers, applying for stuff, and um, like I saw that Julian was doing wanted to do a short film, like a thriller action short film. I was like, okay, that sounds cool.
Okay.
Then I applied to it. We had a table read or an audition
Mhm.
at a Tim Hortons on Gloucester, I believe.
One of the most Canadian things I've ever heard.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Dishing
And
at the Timmies.
of course, well, it's the best place. Warm soup, warm coffee.
Hey, yeah.
It gets the blood flowing.
There you go. Perfect.
And yeah, I had my audition, and he was mentioning, oh, there's going to be action and stuff like that. And I told him, hey, I'm interested in action. I write fight scenes on the side, and I like to make them work.
Hmm.
So additionally, as being an actor on that short film, I managed to have like a stunt coordinator credit attached to that project as well. And
Okay.
I just want to clarify, everything was done safely, nothing too complicated, because when they mention stunt coordinators, a lot of people like raise their eyebrows and they're really
Yeah.
like
Yeah. A
they
little
don't
apprehensive.
play. They don't
Yeah.
play with that kind of stuff. I learned
Mm.
that the hard way because I spoke to real stunt coordinators and stunt people, and they
Oh,
told me never,
yeah.
no matter what, mention that. I was like, I'm good.
Wow.
So But that project was amazing. Again, the working with lovely people, the environment on set was um, like I was reading like Michael Chekhov's book back in the day
Hmm.
on acting, and I was applying some of the techniques that I learned from that book, and it did wonders because after the movie was done, and yes, if you interview Julian, he'll tell you
Okay.
the first version of that film, like the lighting, because we were filming outside too, the
Hmm.
lighting wasn't great. The sound wasn't great as well at some parts of it. But despite of that, we managed to score a lot of selections at festivals,
Oh, great.
and I managed to win awards for me as an actor as well,
Oh,
which was like a
fantastic.
very
Yeah,
thank you, thank
that's
you.
awesome.
It was a huge confidence booster.
Hmm.
And afterwards, I was managing like the other award-winning short films that I was a part of. Mostly, I created. I was like
Oh,
some of
okay.
the short films that I created. Um, because of Kino, like Vincent was mentioning,
Hmm.
as you know, every month they give you a theme, and then you basically do a movie on that theme.
Yeah.
And because it was close to Halloween, the theme was horror. And I'm not a horror guy, honestly. I don't really like horror, but I think creatively, horror can really spice things up, like in terms of
Hmm.
storytelling and stuff.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, you have to create a 3 minute short film using horror as your theme. So I was thinking about it. I like experimental stuff with not a lot of dialogue in it. Uh, and social media was a big thing for me as well. So I decided to incorporate both of them, and I created this short film called Screech.
Screech. Okay.
Yeah. So this short film basically talks about two. You basically see a couple at different stages of their relationship,
Okay.
and you see some of there's in the movie there's happy moments and very sad and sadistic moments. So the very happy moments are done in stop motion,
Okay.
and the sadistic moments are done in video. So
Oh.
the reason why I wanted to do it in stop motion was because I always use that example. You know, when you go on Snapchat and
Hmm.
sometimes you can see Global Mail, all those magazines that you can read through the articles and stuff like that.
Okay.
On the Global Mail, I kid you not, when you click on it, one time I saw it like, oh, Ariana Grande was wearing this beautiful dress at the VMAs. And then you click to go on to the next article, and the next article will be Man 52 chops off the head of his wife in front of his 3 kids. And I'm like, what the hell?
Nice
Like
segue.
it didn't prepare me at all. So I
No
had
kidding.
this like intention in mind when I did it.
Mm.
And it did pretty well as well. Lots of honorable mentions at the Florence Film Awards
Oh,
in Italy.
fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. I was supposed to go to Italy, but then COVID hit, and it was like,
Oh, damn.
but it is what it is. And
Hmm.
of course, like well, I'm sure we'll talk about this later. But another short film that I created called The Addiction Status,
Hmm.
as well, just finished its festival run. Got picked up at I'm sure you heard of them. They're Liftoff Film Network. It's like a network of film festivals all over, and it got selected at some faith-based film festivals as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, overall, I was a bit worried about it because, like, I'm sure we'll touch on it as we go, but
Hmm.
I was really glad with the result in the end.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like you've got you're not just acting and nothing else, but you're creating, writing, creating the films that you created. You directed those as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was
written and
the
directed.
jack of all. I was the jack of all trades. I was
Oh yeah.
directing, producing, writing, doing all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
for the addiction status, I did. I like to hire people who have their own equipment just to facilitate stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I was doing all of that. And as time goes by, I feel like I realized maybe I should delegate a little bit more.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. With every single one of my short films, that's the one thing that I evolved very slowly. I kind of had my hands in everything in the beginning, and then after each one, it's like delegate a little more and delegate a little more. You can't do it all, you know.
No.
But yeah, but as you go, you're creative. Things evolve. Things get bigger. You need the help. There's no way around that. Well, that's amazing, the recognition that your stuff is getting. There's a poster that I have on my wall from a filmmaker that I follow. And basically it says, what's in front of the camera matters more than the camera itself. And I always like to remind myself of that. And when you mentioned that the one particular short that you're involved with, it had technical difficulties, but it's still it told a story that people connected with, and it got some great recognition. I think that's proof positive of that, and I think it's a good takeaway for listeners to take away. That just get out there regardless of the type of equipment that you have. And if you feel like you've got a fire in your belly and a story to tell, just do it. And because the technical side of things is secondary. The number one thing is that you have a good story.
It's important. And a quick plug as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of award-winning short films,
Mhm.
I worked with a wonderful filmmaker. Her name is Dina Sawir, and she did a movie called Dead and Alive. It was done in both English and Arabic,
Oh, okay.
and it won Best Screenplay at DG60. I think 2 years ago. Time flies. But it was again a case of working with a filmmaker that had a vision that
Mm-hmm.
wanted to tell a story that is like different from the type of stories that Arab filmmakers do tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to shout out as well, like Mesa Houri. She's wonderful. She does like her web series. Like it was awesome. Oh my God, I can't believe that I just blanked out of her web series. It's crazy. Uh,
If it comes to you, you
Dirty
can
Love,
mention it.
Dirty
Yeah.
Love. There you
Dirty
go, Dirty
Love.
Love.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. There you
But
go.
she loves she really advocates for her culture. She advocates for Arab rights, for women's rights
Mm-hmm.
through her productions. So
Mm-hmm.
shout out to her.
I took in some of Dead and Alive. It's kind of based on the whole Schrodinger's cat thing. Is that right?
Well, basically, Dead and Alive. It's basically two women. They want to like resurrect their mom through
Okay.
like some kind of ritual in order to make her sign off on a deal, basically like her will to give them more stuff
Okay.
and to get richer, basically. But then
Ah.
there's something happens, and their very devious uncle shows up.
Yeah.
This guy,
Ah,
and
you're the uncle, TV's uncle.
yes, and he basically he knows what they're about to do, so
Mm-hmm.
he tries to see if he can
Don't tell us too
basically
much.
like he wants to come back to life, so he
Okay.
wants to make an exchange. It's like, oh, okay, well, I can take you to the underworld. I can exchange souls between the two of you.
Oh, wow.
You get what you want, I get what I want, and then we'll switch back. There's no
It-
problem.
it's a win-win. I caught a bit of your performance in that, and I was like, okay, this guy's got some chops.
Thank you, thank you, appreciate it.
It sounds like that's something that was maybe a little more visual effects heavy, or no?
It was a little bit
Yeah.
with the exchange of souls. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you saw the short film. It wasn't as much VFX heavy. Other than that, other than the camera effect that they did. You know, when you're filming a camera, you see like the little rec recording with
Mm-hmm.
the little dot
Oh,
there.
okay. Yeah.
But the like it was storytelling at its finest, I believe.
Yeah.
And even we Dina worked with her mom as well, like a non-actor, and
Yeah.
the performance was still as great. Like it was awesome. Like she was able to adapt to that challenge. And really it's really about like making sure that your set is friendly, that people are having a good time, that
Mm-hmm.
if they have any concerns that they can come to you and be okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I had the privilege of working on sets like that. I did work on very bad sets when I
Yeah.
was working as an up and coming actor. I even
Yeah.
have like a YouTube video about my worst set experience,
Oh,
an
yeah.
old video on my YouTube channel. But
I could make a few of those.
yeah, no, it's crazy.
I don't know if you watched the previous episode with Vincent Valentino. I had a little spiel about how the way I approach directing is as much as I admire directors like Stanley Kubrick and James Cameron, I don't want to be one of them because they were known to be tyrants on set.
Yeah.
But then you get somebody like Steven Spielberg. That's someone that I've always had as a role model, and he's always proven himself to be down to earth, relatable with actors of all ages, and obviously, I mean, he's known as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So I don't think, you know, you don't have to be a tyrant or belligerent or anything like that on set to get what you need from an actor. I mean, you can be down to earth and you can work with them. You don't have to be an overlord. That's not a
No, it's true because
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a team effort. It's
Mm-hmm.
not all about one person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's right. Yeah, and that's something that I learned early on too. Is that a person who's directing may be in a position of authority, but they're still a team member. They're still just a member of a team. People are
mhm.
doing things for you. So yeah, there's got to be an air of respect, definitely. But speaking of visual effects, I also checked out another indie film that you're a part of, Phase Two, and I noticed
Mhm.
that you had this sort of visual effects transformation. You can tell us a little bit about Phase Two and what that was all about.
Sure. So phase two basically was done through the Screen Acting Academy. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Screen Acting Academy, it's run by Mike Migliera, who's a casting director. He recently opened his like basically an extension of his school in Montreal and in Calgary as well.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that short film that was done for us as actors for our demos
Oh,
that we
okay.
can use to pitch for agents, to pitch or to use as our actor reel, basically. And it was during COVID, and phase two basically talked about the fact that it was a very controversial opinion at the time, to the point where they had to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the short film,
Oh, really?
where they're basically saying that the vaccine that they gave for COVID-19 would turn people into reptilians and they would take over the world.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So you can imagine.
Yeah, some of the backlash. Yeah.
And even like sometimes, like what I would do, um, some of my auditions that I would film,
Mhm.
I would like to use like funny clips from them and put them on YouTube for content.
Right.
And one of them was like, it was a very harsh comedy, so to speak. They didn't beat around the bush. Basically, I was playing like a politician who said like, yeah, like we're all about freedom of speech, but can you just shut up for 1 second? I mean, come on, please.
That's a great line.
And this COVID thing, it's a vaccine. We're not gonna take this. And because I uploaded on YouTube, they blocked it
Oh, wow.
immediately because it was during COVID, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of debates
Oh,
around that.
wow.
So, but in a nutshell, that's what Phase Two was all about, and
Okay.
it was nice. It was working. It was adapting to working with a wonderful DOP. His name is Jesse Pelangio, and like they were giving us. He was a strong director as well.
Mhm.
He was giving us. Mike was giving us notes as well too, in order to. It was a case where when you have a good director, that's where it comes the in the intro part that you were saying,
Mhm.
trying to work with the director to get their vision across.
Mhm.
And yeah, I adapted as much as possible, and I think it came out great too. So
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of it, and the visual effects look pretty impressive. So it must have been,
thank you.
yeah, it looked pretty exciting to be a part of something like that. Now you'd already mentioned. I want to hear more about the addiction status, and you said that it just finished its festival run. This is clearly something you're very proud of. So, fill us in on all about the addiction status.
Of course. So the addiction status is a faith-based satire
Oh,
that basically it talks about the struggles of a young man with pornography and his relationship with God. And he wants to basically have a better relationship with God, even though he has this addiction. And the process of creating this short film was because DG60 again was the catalyst for it.
mhm.
There were basically the theme of DG60 at the time was escape. And the first thing that came up to my mind was this story, and I decided to pitch it for the first time in front of people at DG. At first,
Mhm.
the short film was very like intricate. Like I had a very like at first glance, it looked very like a ambitious project to do because there was a lot of locations, a lot of characters and stuff like that. And like nobody wanted to do it because of the subject matter.
Um,
And then when remember like that night when I pitched it, one of my a person came up to me, a stranger. He came up to me and he told me, "Look, I'm from Palestine. I really acknowledge what you're saying. Like it's very courageous of you to come up and to talk to people about this subject matter because in our culture in the Middle East, it's very taboo to talk about these kind of things, and you're doing it." So and even Sandrine, the film commissioner of Ottawa, was attending this pitch,
well,
and she even like because it was my first time pitching, I think, but
yeah,
she came in and she told me like, "Congratulations for coming up and being courageous and pitching. I hope you make this project."
yeah,
And in the end, I did. I paid it all out of pocket, which
mm,
most filmmakers do.
yep,
Um, and I hired wonderful creatives as well, very good grips, very good DOP, and I storyboarded the entire thing, wrote the script, and filmed it. Even like I was because every time I do a project, I like to get a little bit more ambitious as
of
time goes
course.
by.
Yeah, you got to
Uh,
evolve.
And in that project, I wanted to do like an intimate scene with someone, with an intimacy coordinator on set. Everybody's going to be paid. Like I wanted to make sure that this was a very safe environment.
Yeah.
Again, that was another hurdle. Nobody wanted to do it. So I had to figure out another way to make it work.
Hmm.
And that's where I use to tell the story through stock footage, through Artless. They give pretty good stock footage. So I use that to tell the story. And in
Okay.
the end, I started pitching it to film festivals. At the beginning, there was a lot of rejection, which it started like it starts affecting your mental health a little bit. But then
Hmm.
afterwards, it started to get picked up by some film festivals. Like they were officially selected at that festival, not necessarily winning awards, but at least getting some type of exposure
Hmm.
and getting like officially selected at other festivals. And in the end, I think it did pretty well. I was trying to have my DOP Romanesh Reynoso had like a ProRes camera, and
Okay.
it goes with what you were saying earlier that it's what's in front of the camera that matters, not the equipment itself.
Right.
And I was trying to be as vulnerable. Well, the story itself is vulnerable. It comes from a real life experience.
Okay.
What I learned from it, I was trying to be vulnerable as well during the performance. But it's really difficult when you're juggling so many hats.
Hmm.
You're the director, you're the producer, you have to worry about catering. I had to film in my house, and my family was very gracious to be open to that as well. And
Okay.
even I asked my priest, my Orthodox priest at St. Elias, next to Mooney's Bay, so I can use the church to shoot in it.
Oh wow.
And he let me. He read the script, he liked it, and he wanted to show support. So
Oh, fantastic. That's awesome. That's amazing. It's
thank you.
there's a couple things there that I'm noticing. I'm noticing a theme in these things you're telling me. For
Mm-hmm.
one is that you seem to be in the realm of controversy every now and then. As we've seen in society lately, for better or worse, controversy actually seems to pay off for people because it gets you noticed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I noticed from what you were telling me there, you seem to have a talent for being able to adapt to the situation, to adapt to the limitations that you may face, and that's a mark of a good filmmaker. If you can, you have a story to tell, you have that fire in your gut, and but then you hit those limitations. Some people they'll be like, okay, well, it's too difficult, I'm not going to do it. But if you just find a different way to do it, then you still get your story told. And that's yeah, like I said, I find that's a mark of a talented filmmaker is when they can have that. And they can,
Adaptability or
yeah,
self-awareness.
exactly, yeah, you have that adaptability. Yeah, exactly. So, and you certainly seem to have that going there. When you first approached me, you had mentioned we mentioned a lot about your acting career, and now I'm getting sort of filled in on the short films and things that you've been involved with and have created yourself. Would you where would you say your focus is? Like if you were to pursue a career in writing, directing, or acting, where do you feel like your heart lies?
That's a very good question
Mm.
because for the longest time, I was doing all of that. I was doing directing, I was doing writing, I was doing producing and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And one time I had a discussion with my dad, and I was like this is not working. I'm getting auditions, it's not working. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. I'm doing all the right things, creating my own movies and
Mm.
to move my career forward. And he tells me, "Isn't the thing you want to do is act?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, why don't you just act? Why do you do all those kind of things? You don't have to." And and it made me look at myself, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, That's true because everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm directing, everything that I'm writing
Mm-hmm.
is to fuel my acting career.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, that's to answer your question, that's where my heart lies. It's acting.
Acting.
But those writing, directing, and producing, it helps you become a better storyteller, hence
Mm-hmm.
a better actor as well. And
Absolutely.
nowadays, my pure focus is really like on acting,
Okay.
but I'm willing to collaborate with other creatives to bring their vision to life.
Yeah.
And also, like, shout out to Studio Binder on YouTube. They're like, I love this YouTube channel. Like they make it so simple. Like they can talk about any subject, like camera lenses, storytelling, writing, and they're just able to narrow it down so specifically that anybody can do it. You just have to ask the right questions. And I'm using this method when I'm collaborating with another friend. I'm helping him write a screenplay as well. So
I mean, obviously, you got to have a focus in your career, and dedicate all your waking time to that focus of what it is you want to pursue. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Like when you get into acting, if that's your passion, then it's nothing but a benefit to see how things are run, to have a background, to see how things are run behind the scenes, and get a background, get an idea of what the director does, what a writer does, what a DP does. And it's true for directors and writers. It's true for any cast or crew member. Like one of the key programs that I had in film school was directing the actor. My thing is I want to direct, but this program allowed you to see it from the other side, which was a huge benefit. It was an awesome tool to have. That is just it helps build that bridge of communication. And when you're a director, I mean, you're not going to spend more time with anybody else but than the actor. And if you have a really strong bridge of communication, you can like basically, read each other's minds. Well, that just elevates the material that much more, right? If you can just understand each other, you know where each other's coming from. So it's definitely a benefit for regardless of whatever facet of filmmaking you're getting into, is to see what it's like from the other side of the fence. And then you get you get the different perspectives, and it just helps your craft. You know,
yeah,
and
knowledge is power. That's all I'm gonna say.
absolutely,
So.
that's a great way to put it. But just before the show, we touched briefly on voice acting. You mentioned that you've dabbled in voice acting here, there, and everywhere. What have your experiences been like with that?
I would say at the beginning, I'm still at the beginning stages of my voice acting career.
Mhm.
Uh, like I receive, because I have an agent, I receive a lot of voiceover auditions. I did take the screen acting program, the voice acting program at the Screen Acting Academy,
Yeah.
and I I invested in a Blue Yeti microphone with a pop filter to record my auditions. I'm
Yes.
still in that realm, thinking, okay, how I'm gonna upgrade that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
it's really in due time. Time will tell. Will like in terms of gear, what's gonna happen
Right.
in terms of voice acting. Um, again, received a lot of voiceover auditions. Helped one of my friends record an audiobook.
Mhm.
She wrote like a series of books for teens,
Okay.
and basically I was the audiobook voice for one of her books. It's a book series in French for teens.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like fantasy as
Oh,
well.
cool.
Yeah, and I did a bit of voice acting for short films as well. I don't know if you know Workaby Films, Andrew J.D. Robinson.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, like I helped him out with one. This guy recorded like basically someone talking on the phone to the main character.
Okay.
I wasn't like on the project. I recorded my lines and gave it to them. Yeah, I have a character voices reel. I went to Montreal recently for to work with Simon Peacock for motion capture, which is something I'm really interested in.
That's cool.
For thank you for video games and also for movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a voiceover demo as well to record for video games, and it's way different than I imagined. Lots of screaming, so
Oh yeah.
take care of your throats, guys, please. It made me learn how to like advocate for my rights as well. Like, let's say I get hired for like a voiceover project for video games. If
Mhm.
they want to make me scream at the beginning, there's kind of a bit of a red flag because you have to take care of your voice. So do it at the end to really commit to the bit, if that makes sense. Because with voice acting or just animation, they only have your voice. They
Mhm.
don't have your facial expressions, they don't have your movement. You
Mhm.
really have to convey a lot of things through your voice.
Mhm.
And and one thing I would like to get into eventually, we'll see, is dubbing for Japanese anime.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to get into that. Based on some people, that those creatives they get treated very badly because most of the people they hire is non-union actors. But for
Mhm.
very good shows like Netflix animation shows, they go the union route. So
Right.
fingers crossed here. And
Well, it sounds like you had quite a few. There's a few got quite a few good tips in there for fellow actors who might want to pursue the voice acting route, and it's probably a good idea if you're getting into acting to be prepared for any facet that you might fall into. I mean, it's another form of acting, just using your voice as opposed to everything else on top of that.
mm,
Like there's been a lot of Hollywood actors that have made the transition, back and forth. So it's clearly a nice sort of pocket side sort of thing that you can do. That is
mm.
good to be prepared for. You're telling me how important you felt it was for actors to care for their mental health. I think that's an excellent point and not discussed enough. Tell us some of your feelings on that.
Of course, honestly, mental health is something that is really, really, really important to me. Like I think I shared this story before on other platforms, but I had a comrade. Her name was Ariane,
Mm.
and I saw her. We weren't that close. We were mostly comrades. I saw her in high school. I saw her in Cégep. We were in the same cinema program before she left, and I saw her a bit in university too.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a very creative person. She was a visual artist. She took care of herself. She did yoga. She even like drew a dream catcher above, like in her room. Like she designed that.
Oh wow!
And I was surprised one day when I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw that she committed suicide.
Oh my goodness!
And she was like she's 24. Like she was
Oh,
around. I'm 27.
mm-hmm.
By the grace of God, that I'm still here, and it made me really think about that we need to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an interview. I interviewed Mike as well from the Screen Acting Academy on my YouTube channel as well a while back, and
Yes.
he was saying at the end of the interview, he was saying that it's not a big deal. This acting is a job at the end of the day, and it's important to be happy. Like
Mm-hmm.
the thing that I see is that us as actors, I feel like we attach ourselves to the field of acting like it defies us. Like it defines us as human beings. Like this thing defines me. It's my identity. Without it, I'm nothing, which is not true. Like we don't get gigs as often. We get mostly no's than yes. They say it takes about 50 no's before you get a yes.
Mm-hmm.
You can play it like a game, like you can note it down. It's like and see the progression. You can see it as in a positive light instead of negative. But
Mm-hmm.
I've had my fair share of I was impatient. I cried a lot. Like recently, I cried in front of my family because like just I wasn't taking care of myself. Like everything, the dark thoughts in my head and everything like that. It's important to take care of yourself and not be afraid to take a step back if you think you have too much on your plate, if this career is too much for you. And like the big lessons that I got from it was acting as a job that doesn't define you, but also if you want to make this a career, you have to dedicate time for it and you have to have fun with it and to know specifically what you want out of it too, because you can be pursuing it for the wrong reasons. And nowadays, like you with social media and stuff like that, if you want to be famous, go right ahead. I even think like being famous, yes, it has its negative connotations to it, but it's doable. It's just you have to live with the baggage that comes with it,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're famous, your private life is affected by
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
The opinions of others on you is going to affect you as well. So you have to figure out ways to take care of that, or
Yeah.
and it's financially taxing as well because like let's you have to keep up with everything. You
Mm-hmm.
have to you have to have yourself a manager, a publicist when you go out in public on important shows. Like let's say you say the wrong thing, you're gonna see the media, they're just gonna bash you
Yeah.
entirely.
Tear to shreds. Yeah.
Like I remember I took like an elective class in university. It was intercultural communication. And one time we were talking about the fact that language is part of culture, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And the professor took an example of, let's say Justin Trudeau came to Quebec, a French province, and decided to just speak in English the entire time. The next day, you're going to see in the journals, Je me souviens, the French culture needs to prevail in Canada, and
Mm-hmm.
like you see it affects like even everything you say is controversial to someone.
Yeah.
You just have to be like not everybody is my cup of tea and I'm not the cup of tea of everybody either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to assume what you say and to take responsibility for yourself and for the person that you are and the person you want to be, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion.
Yeah. I want to commend you, Dmitri, for that's a very brave thing to highlight, and it's not talked about enough. I can definitely side with you. I've had my struggles with mental health. That's no secret to those who know me. Any creative sort of endeavor is going to take its toll. It might be one of the most mentally taxing things, because as you say, you're going to have 50 kicks before you get a stroke. It's like a kind of another layer on life. In life, it's the same kind of thing. And then, you want to pursue this, this particular avenue of creativity. And it's like, okay, well, this seems to be art is imitating life here. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that that we brought this up. And another thing I want to highlight on what you said was that you aren't what you do, and that is And anybody who's listening and is having strong takeaways from this topic, remember that you're not what you do. You're more than just what you do. What you do is just in addition to who you are and your importance and your self-worth. It's the flavor. It's just on top of that, on top of everything else. It's not your entire identity, as you said. So that's
And I'm feeling better, by the way. So
oh,
just to clarify for the audience, everything it's going great now.
that's
We're
fantastic,
taking it
man.
day by day. Lots of prayers, lots of meditation. Some
Meditation's great.
days, of course, highly recommended to a lot of people to
Mm-hmm.
just we don't like. I remember one day I was on my way to Montreal for the Studio du Chateau where I did the recordings with Simon Peacock.
Okay, right.
And I was at the gas station. I was filling up gas, and it was early in the morning, around like 6 a.m. And I saw the sun rising sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because well, nowadays it's rush, 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 lots of noise, people speaking at the same time, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's important to take time to sit in silence, to pray, to meditate,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to take that time to heal. So
Yeah, that's one of the key anchors for self care is mindfulness and living in the moment, living in the present moment. And I mean, what better way to do that than to take in some silence and be still with the world, right? Um,
especially in our field, like
yeah.
on a professional level, the cast and crew, the crew members. Oh my goodness, I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like I went to see like a conference at Algonquin College on. They were doing an intro for DGC, the Directors Guild,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot of assistant directors, first ADs, second ADs come in to talk about their experience. And now the guild is forcing, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I think there's somewhere where the guild advocates for its members to take a break because
Okay. That's
as an
good.
assistant director, you have to like think ahead and be the problem solver of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the assistant director that was talking was saying how much burnouts there were
Really?
that a lot of assistant directors were going through because of that field.
Wow.
Mostly, they were talking about the old guard, like the old method of doing stuff.
Right.
Now it's way better, but they at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I had an experience a few months back. I was working on a TV show as a PA. I thought, oh, this would be a cool opportunity. It's a television show. It's the budget was like $100,000 per episode. I'd never been a PA. Well, I mean, I might have been a PA back in the day on some things, but it's been a long time. I mean, it's kind of an interesting sort of doing your own stuff and then working as a PA on somebody else's thing. And I gotta say, I don't like to put too much negativity in my shows, but it was easily the worst experience that I've ever had, and I feel bad. I mean, I'm sure that some PAs, I'm sure their experiences are fine, but this particular situation was awful. People that I were dealing with were belligerent, and they weren't paying people. It was just an all around a bad experience. So my advice to anyone who wants to work on a film set and is enthusiastic and to jumping into stuff like that is vet who you're working with. Because I didn't care how good of an opportunity it might have been. It was just far too much negativity, and there a big, very much of deep lack of respect for the crew. So I just left the project. So
No,
yeah,
the same happened to me too. So
yeah. As a
yeah.
as a PA or in another area
As
as an
an actor,
actor.
I thought I just needed footage for my demo. This person, it was like a friend of a friend, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like I
Yeah.
worked with that other friend. I know he's a creative. He's serious,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Then he referred to that friend who's like, oh, it's his first time directing, but I worked with him before and stuff like that. I was like, okay, all right, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the biggest tomfoolery ever. It was,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Maybe he's not cut out for directing.
I'm telling you, watch the YouTube video that I did on the worst set experience.
Oh yeah,
You'll
I'm gonna
see.
I'm gonna check that out. It might
Yeah,
be a
I'll
good.
send you the link afterwards for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Please do. Yeah, and it might be a good warning, a good manual for people to follow what to avoid if you're getting into acting. Yeah, unfortunately, there are folks out there. It's like any other industry, but yeah, unfortunately, there are a fair share of Stanley Kubricks and James Camerons out there that their vision clouds the fact that they're dealing with people, and
Mhm.
I personally don't subscribe to that. Now, something else that we touched on for the show was how you felt actors should be specific and they should really know themselves. What do you mean by those exactly, and why do you feel those things are important?
Yeah, so the reason why I said that actors should be specific and know themselves is because I feel like I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the culture in Ottawa or in Gatineau, maybe because it's a smaller market for actors to get their foot in the door and then upgrade to better and bigger things if that's what they want. I feel like they just, oh, okay, I auditioned for this thing, hope for the best. But it's like their agent, or if they have an agent, they just get parts for everything, for anything. And sometimes anything is like way too wide of a scope.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they need to narrow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, there's a lot of Hallmark movies
Yeah.
that are filmed in the capital.
Mm-hmm.
And I they have a specific type of casting that they're looking for. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, watch the Hallmark movies and tell me otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying that it's not for everybody. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of series in Montreal that are, I feel like they need, like, for example, if someone wants to make money out of this acting career, and I'm not saying that I'm making money either, I'm just realizing stuff as I go through my career.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important as an actor to know your typecast for first off, to know like what are the parts that other people can see you play easily,
Right.
so you can uh like get your foot in the door and then you can be open to do other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you have to like capitalize. Like I was talking to Mike Migliera through that interview, he was saying to capitalize on that income
Mm-hmm.
of that typecasting. Some people feel like it could be demeaning or it could be, oh, I'm not at my full potential because I'm getting just these parts this all the time. Like it's your foot in the door, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. For knowing yourself, it goes back again to this career doesn't have to define you. And if it's too stressful, you can back out at any moment, take breaks. Most of my acting teachers, they took breaks, they came back, and they were, most of the time, they were fine, honestly. And I feel like yes, they encourage a lot of people to start early in their career. That's why you see them as child actors, and then they grow up
Mm-hmm.
to get that career flowing, basically.
Yeah.
But there's people that start, let's say, at my age, and they can get something out of it. There is something for you.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. So, and also to know yourself, it's to know the projects that you actually want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, for me, I wanted when you ask an actor how oh I want what are the types of projects you want to do? He's like, oh, I just want to do theater, film, TV. But that's too general though.
Yeah.
What type of shows do you want to get on? What type of plays you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like what is your dream role even? I feel like sometimes the industry, like the business side of the industry, makes it so that the actors cannot be ambitious with what they want. They have to compromise.
Yeah.
Yes, early in your career, you could just take anything, but it's important to have a vision down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like a year from now, 5 years from now, where do you want to end up at? And I'm not saying that it's do or die. If I don't do this, I failed as an actor if I'm not able to focus on that vision. But at least you have a plan. You
Mm-hmm.
have a path to take.
Yeah. You have a
And
focus.
mhm. And I feel like as well, like because for actors that are starting early in their career, they're afraid of ruffling feathers, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And like everything has to go through the agent, and like the producer basically hires the casting director who reaches out to the talent agents to get the parts. And there is like I don't believe that the actors are limited. They can reach out to those people and say, "Hi, my name is so and so. I like this show that you're doing." You don't have to necessarily go and say, "Please give me a job," like
Yeah.
being like super like desperate about it.
Yeah.
But at least just introduce yourself. Try and see if you can talk to these people through a Zoom call, through a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to say that like, "Hey, I'm here," you know?
Yeah. They're
And
people too.
there are people
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
They like what they like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really about like back in the day, a lot of people that were outside the industry were telling me, "Oh, it's just really based on luck, and you have to know people." Now there is this element that is truthful that it's relationships are important in this industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like networking. I'm not one of those people either. I feel like nowadays I value, it's going to be selfish. It's going to come out as selfish, but I value my energy and the energy that I give to people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going to give me the time of day, my instinct automatically is to say, okay, I'm not going to bother.
Right.
But in the industry, you're going to work with people that you don't necessarily see eye to eye with. Like you have to, some things you have to compromise in order to get to move forward. There's sacrifices in anything, in any career that you take. There's sacrifices you're going to have to take.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's about being your authentic self, not being afraid to reach out to people, and not being afraid of like being blacklisted or stuff like that. Like at one point, I thought I had an instance where I got blacklisted, and in the end, that same company was still sending me auditions for their projects.
Okay.
So it's it's really about like we worry too much about what's going on here. We think
Mm-hmm.
the the funny stuff is that we overthink so much
Mm-hmm.
about, oh, this person thinks that I'm like this, when in reality they weren't thinking about you at all.
Yep. Yep.
It's
A
it's like
very
the
smart quote that I heard that it really stood out for me that I heard very recently was that people are not after you. They're they're just worried about themselves,
yeah.
basically. I mean, you have friends that are concerned about you and things like that, but for the most part, strangers, acquaintances, you know, work networking people or whatever, they're not thinking about you anywhere near as much as you might think
Yeah.
you are. Not like virtually not at all. They get their own shit to deal with, And yeah, overthinking can be deadly, especially, you know, especially in this industry.
It's true.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. You need to have a focus, like that's with acting or with anything. I mean, people are looking for a specialty. Like when I jumped ship out of my career in IT, like the first thing I figured is like, okay, well, I want to do filmmaking, but at the same time, while I'm doing that, I still got to make money. So I was doing videography, and I still am. And eventually, it's become a good path. But what I noticed early on that I was doing wrong was I didn't have a focus. I was telling people, oh, I can shoot anything. I can do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. But other people who have had success and built a lucrative business in videography in Ottawa and surrounding areas, but it kept telling me the same things. Like, you got to have a focus. You can't just say, well, you do it all, because
Mm-hmm.
you got to be more specific, and then people will, and it goes for acting as well, have sort of a specific niche that you do and you do really well. And that's what people want. They want a specialty. They want to know that what they're hiring you for, you can do really well. And if you're saying, well, you can do it all, well, that's like saying, you're jack of all trades, master of none, right? Another thing that stood out to me, what you're saying was I have a similar kind of mindset where I conserve my energy, and I'm not that big on networking. Like, you hear about these networking events and things like that, get to know different creatives and filmmakers and stuff like that. Like, I couldn't see myself schmoozing at something like that and getting to know people. Part of the selfish reason why I do this, 613 Creatives, this is my this
Mm-hmm.
is my version of networking. Like, I'm getting to know people, other people are getting to know people, we're all getting to know each other, and and hopefully it'll highlight, who can do what, and people can work together and create some awesome things.
Yeah, and
So,
even with networking, I say that, and I think I want to attend the networking event that comes up at DG60.
right.
But it's really like I think like you can set like small achievable goals for yourself. Like for example,
For
like
sure.
let's say you wanna work out at the gym and you're aiming for 3 times a week and you're able to go once a week, let's say, or just show up.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't want to do it, you're even when you're in that environment, like when you show up, then you're already good. You can tell yourself that, okay, I showed up. I did great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people are very hard on themselves when they have specific goals in mind that they're not able to reach right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in terms of networking, just when you listen to like podcast interviews about very famous actors or working creatives, they say, "Oh, you have to watch movies, you have to network, you have to go to festivals, you have to." It feels like the way that they're saying it
Mm-hmm.
is really easy, and that like not everybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's important to really decipher that these people are talking about their own experience.
Right.
It's subjective,
Mm-hmm.
and your experience is also subjective. And there's like you can take what they're saying, like an element that works for you, use it, and the other things that don't work for you, just throw them away. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's important to decipher, especially through the media, when you listen to podcasts, when you listen to interviews, when you someone talks to you through a lens of some sort.
Yeah.
It's important to use what you need and let go of what doesn't work. Like
Mm-hmm.
for example, if you go to a networking event, let's just say, oh, you watched a very good movie and you just want to talk to the people that worked on this movie,
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stick around for hours upon
Yeah.
hours to talk to everybody
Mm, exactly.
because it goes back to being specific and
Yeah.
being and having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So, There's nothing wrong with that.
That's very well said. Very well said. I know you have some tips and suggestions for fellow actors, like how you approach a self tape, for instance.
Hmm.
Take us through your thoughts on that.
Sure. In terms of self-tape auditions, I feel like when you're starting acting and you start receiving self-tape auditions and stuff, it's going to be daunting at first because a lot of people have thoughts about it. It goes back to you because you know yourself, you're going to be able to develop your own process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, the way I develop my own process is by going to acting training, like going to the Screen Acting Academy. They're just like I don't know if it's the same still, like in terms of the program, but basically there's four stages of that program, and the last stage talks about the business of acting, how to basically like put on your resume as an actor and how casting workbook works, how to read an audition breakdown as well. In terms of like, and they showed us like sometimes like in like for example, I'm on Zoom right now, and let's say the lens is pointing at me here. Sometimes instead of talking to the camera directly when you're speaking to another person, you're gonna go 45 a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still see my eyes and the reactions. And most of the self tapes are done in like medium close up to
Mm-hmm.
leave like a little space here when you
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's as I was a part of there was this acting consultation company called Actors Fast Track. It's an American company that did like a free session.
Okay.
um, I was a part of another program that they referred me to this company,
Mm-hmm.
and I listened to the free event. When I logged into the event, the first thing I hear is "Please don't stop the music, music," like from Rihanna. Like I was like, this is about to be some tomfoolery, some scammy stuff. But the person that is in charge of the company. She's been, well, based on what she's saying, she's been in the business for like 25 years. She's an actress herself. So she knows the challenges of self-tapes, and she has her thoughts on acting schools and acting workshops.
Okay.
Is that acting workshops gives you range. It doesn't give you a job. It doesn't guarantee you anything.
Right.
It teaches you the ropes and it teaches you how to be how to have range as an actor and how to be relaxed when you perform. And I think when you do a self-tape audition, it's important to be relaxed. If you have nerves,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to show. So you have to, by knowing yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
have to know what works for you to relax before a performance. It could be just listening to music, it could be meditating beforehand. And another thing that I see as well is that because they read the casting breakdowns of the auditions,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the actors really get like attached to the description of the character. And sometimes those descriptions for the auditions, they're like super confusing. They're like, oh, this character is mean, but sometimes he's nice. Is he mean or is he nice? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's as an actor, you have to decide to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like before I like to play different characters other than myself because it stretches my acting muscles.
Of course.
But also there was I don't remember the name of this actor. I quoted him in one of my YouTube videos as well. This actor basically he studied under Sanford Meisner, one of the like the forefathers of modern acting in America. And basically he said something really important. You are the performance.
Mm.
You as a person, it starts from you. to the outside.
Oh, wow.
I feel like now with the my auditions, when I submit a self-tape audition, I read the script and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm okay to do the choices that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Showcase, okay, I want to do this and to have fun with it, which is also really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get attached to the breakdown, we think, oh no, I need to, and it goes back to the equipment. Oh, I need to have a blue background, and I have to dress. Well, you can dress the part. I like the dressing the part helps as an actor, in my opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to worry about all kinds of technical stuff. They're not going to hire you because you have a blue background.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, they don't care about the backgrounds. Some
Mm-hmm.
and that's it goes back to that word, subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Casting is subjective as well. A lot of the casting directors, they have their own philosophies, their
Mm-hmm.
own ways of doing stuff. And when you talk to another casting director, they talk about that casting director. They say, "Oh yeah, he does this thing, but I do this." So there's a lot of I'm sure you know this. There's a lot of shit talkers in the industry. So
Oh, absolutely.
everybody shits on anybody. So, but it's important just to go back to the question. When
Mm-hmm.
you do self tapes, in my opinion, you have to use your own process, develop your own process as an actor, and that goes through acting class by training and your experiences on set as well.
Mm-hmm.
You in terms and they give you instructions for the specifics of how to shoot your self tapes. Follow that. Read the breakdown. It's important because you're going to know who's working on the show and learning what the vision of the character is, but don't get attached too much to it. Don't get attached to the description of the character. You
Right.
read the description and yourself, you're going to get your own idea of what that character is.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not have to, and don't be afraid to show it on screen by using your own choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's in my experience, those are the actors that get hired, and those are the actors that do get the most work.
But
Who?
you know why this is important, in my opinion? Because you don't get attached to the result
Mm-hmm.
of that audition. Because that's what happens. And sometimes there's very good parts that you send auditions to, and you're like, damn it, I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it helps you be okay with the process of auditioning, to be
Mm-hmm.
accustomed to it, and to not get attached to the results. Like Michael Keaton said it in like an interview. When I'm auditioning, I'm going to work. It's a performance.
Yeah.
Like
Part of the job.
it's part of the job. They're calling me because they want to see me act. Yes, they're not paying me, but it's a job. So
Mm, yeah.
audition is the job.
Mm-hmm.
So don't take it as a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like auditions sometimes are dreadful, but like the more you get accustomed to it, the more you know yourself, the more you do things that make you happy, the more you know your process of relaxation before the filming,
Mm-hmm.
the better your performance is going to be because you're not attached to things. You're attached to fun
Yeah.
choices and to make the production better. So,
Yeah. You have more flexibility. It's more fluid. I'll give a tip to those casting directors and uh, directors, writers.
I might get canceled after this too. So,
Not at all. Not at all, man. It's very, very well said. I have no doubt that, any actors who might be hearing this, you just gave them a wealth of information. But I'll throw in my 2 cents for those who are putting together the character descriptions, especially those the people who are putting those together who are, as you mentioned, can be very vague. Don't do that to actors. I highly recommend you read a book called The Art of Creative Writing by Allegros Egri. I'm probably butchering his name, but um, one of the fundamental things that anybody putting a character description together should know is there's three elements for every character that need to be in that character description. It's the intellectual, the sociological, and the physical.
Mm.
So physical attributes. Sociological would be like, are they upper or lower class? Are they favored things, personality traits? So physical, sociological, and intellectual. Intellectual is like, smart, dumb. What do they do for a living? Da 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 da. The more, I mean, obviously, you don't have to write, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. If you can summarize something from at least each one of those categories, that, in my experience, does a wealth of good for the people that you're trying to hire, the people that you're trying to fill these roles, because it just gives them so much more to work from. So don't be vague in your character descriptions. Give the actors what they need. So what are you currently working on, and what do you have lined up for the future?
So right now I'm just honestly right now I'm taking time for myself, really relaxing, believing in the power of doing nothing. Uh
Reinvigorating.
yes.
Reinvigorating.
So
Mhm.
just taking a breather, still working on myself, still messaging people in the industry
Mhm.
to get things moving. I'm helping out a friend with a screenplay. It's also faith-based. Um,
Right.
and I'm going to DJ 60 soon. So if someone listens to this interview, wants to come and say hi, by all means, I'll be there. I'm going to attend some of the workshops that DJ 60 offers.
Mhm.
There's one on the business of acting.
Mhm.
I don't remember which day. I think it's in December 8th, I believe. Don't quote me on that too. And I'm curious to see some of the films that are going to be showcased at DG this year. Every year, people just step their game up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like we're getting, well, in terms of like VFX, storytelling, equipment,
Wow.
like the people are stepping their game up. They want to show that Ottawa is the city to be
Mm.
for creatives.
That's great.
So I'm excited to see some of the movies.
Mhm.
I'm gonna make a post soon to know like which I know some of my friends posted a lot of they're doing movies for the festival.
Right.
So I'm excited to see which blocks they're gonna be at. Yeah, just mostly working on myself. I have in the new year, I'm gonna be recording a singing demo for me as an actor. I took singing
Cool.
lessons beforehand, but now I'm taking a break from it. So yeah, something to look forward to.
Hmm. That's fantastic, man. Keeping the wheels turning. You should check out some of the other episodes of the podcast. There's a number of filmmakers that they're doing all sorts of awesome stuff now and in the future. Some of them are gearing up to do features and things like that. Is that something you've thought that, well, maybe one day do a feature?
Yeah, well, I think we'll see down the line. It would
Mm-hmm.
be a great goal to have, just to have a feature film under your belt
Mm-hmm.
that you created from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And see it through.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks said, like in an interview, there's a very big power in creating your movie and just putting it out there
Mm-hmm.
for people to see. Like it's because you don't know if people are gonna like it, if people are gonna hate it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something really courageous enough to do to say, hey, I got something here. I'm putting it in the atmosphere, see if it sticks, see if someone can relate to it in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. That's the that's what we all have to do if we have that story churning in our mind that we are adamant to tell, then we just got to do it and put it out there. I want to get your opinion on something. How from speaking as a filmmaker and even as an actor, if you're aspiring to, you're always aspiring to bigger and better things. And I hate to disparage Hallmark movies, but would you say doing a Hallmark movie is kind of the kiss of death because then like you're always associated with that?
Well, short answer, I haven't been in one yet, so I
Right.
can't answer really that question, but it's just, I mean, not necessarily. I don't think
Right.
so. I don't think it has to define you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I guess from a professional standpoint, if you're only doing Hallmark movies, I mean, hey, you
Maybe
get your
that's
bag, get your bag. I mean,
yeah.
some of those Hallmark actors, they sign contracts for at least like 3 years,
No,
and
yeah.
they have
They're
like
set.
projects coming down the line. It's hard to keep up the
Yeah.
happiness, the constant happiness.
Yeah.
It's
That yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, but I mean, I remember there was one from the top of my head. I know there was one guy that was doing Hallmark movies a lot,
Hmm.
and then he managed to get a role on a Johnny English movie with Rowan Atkinson. He
Oh,
was
cool.
the either this okay, so I think the third one, the
Yeah.
third one.
Okay.
He came from the realm of Hallmark movies. You would see him all the time
Yeah.
in Hallmark. But to answer your question, it could
Yeah.
well it could affect you from a professional standpoint
Yeah.
because but again it goes to the specificity of you as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
If you're starting to do Hallmark movies and you're getting a lot of money out of this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not something you want to do, feel free to diverge and
Mm-hmm.
to go another route. You don't have to stick to that route,
Yeah.
even though it could affect your income in some way or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something you really believe in and that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
there's ways to go about it. My dad always says, when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
There's always a way to make something work. So,
Absolutely.
uh, yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to disparage Hallmark movies, but yeah, there is that sort of
But some of the actors that I spoke to,
stigma.
they hate their experience.
Oh,
So
really? Eh? It's a bad like
uh,
they have like a negative experience, or it's just like a kind of a
well,
slog.
I think it's mostly for the actors that got casted in Hallmark movies a lot. I think
Okay.
they're just sick of them. The environment is very professional. I
Right.
did a lot of background for Hallmark movies,
Okay.
and the environment is very professional. The directors
Mm-hmm.
know what they're doing. It's just I think the reason why people don't like Hallmark so much is that it's not creatively stimulating because it's
Yeah.
the writers have to write a specific way. The directors have their input on the shots that
Yeah.
they want to do and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not storytelling at its finest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actors are, I think they're mostly doing them just to get a bag, and
Yeah. It's a
and
very
some
set
people
criteria.
love them. Some people
Mm.
love them. And
Yeah.
if that's the career you want, by all means, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make your money. Like, if like people want a sure way of making money, and you're doing it through Hallmark movies, and you get contracts after contracts, and you're happy,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what other people say.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's you, right?
Yeah, I guess it's what you want. If it's what makes you happy. It's as you say, with that type of genre, you're in a box, right? There's a set criteria, and part of me kind of feels like almost like I mean the experience is different for actors because you'll get seen and there's maybe like things you can do with your performance that you can, can get you noticed and used in other types of projects, and you go beyond. And I almost feel like maybe it's more of a kiss of death for directors. If you're abiding by this style and these set criteria that this company, I would imagine for a director, it would be a lot harder to get across, their own unique vision, their own unique way of doing things. So I would think that this is just my opinion, that maybe it's a little bit more of a kiss of death for a director, even if you just take the job as, to pay the bills. And I'd be certainly be willing to do that. But you have the opportunity, I think, more as an actor, to use that sort of thing as a launching point, rather
Mhm.
than if you were a director. I think you're maybe a little bit more in a box. That's
Because
just my
at
two
the end,
cents.
because yeah, at the end of the day, Hallmark it's a network show. It's a
Yeah,
network
yeah,
movie. So it's great to have that on your resume. And
mm-hmm.
I can't speak for what the directors go through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know like how DGC operates in terms of projects. I know that like in terms of crew members, like through Yahtzee and stuff like that, like they have to, it's basically you're just applying, it's a contract per contract. So you're just applying for the job every
Right,
time, right? And you
right,
have to interview for it and then they decide to hire you, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, but and I think that's based on the directors that I've spoken to that do this professionally. They want a mix of both. They want the guaranteed contract, but they also want the resources to create their own movies because
Mm-hmm.
they creatively they like I feel like it depends on the person. If that person just comes into the industry to make money and they don't care
Mm-hmm.
about creating their own projects, they'll stick with this route.
Yeah,
But most of the people that I've talked to, they are willing to be creatively stimulated by
mm-hmm.
doing their own work.
Yeah,
That's why like you would see some directors creating their own production companies, like in the process of doing that to create their own projects and
mm-hmm.
still do that at the same time.
Yeah. That's the best of both worlds, right? Getting a paycheck in one hand, and you're able to freely create your and do your art, practice your craft on the other side. So,
Yeah.
well, that is all the points that I wanted to go over. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Dmitri?
No, I want
Mm-hmm.
to thank you, Dan, for allowing me to come on your platform
Mm-hmm.
and just promote people, promote what's going on in the region in Gatineau and Ottawa,
Mm-hmm.
and to just to tell people if you're really, again, this industry doesn't define who you are.
Right.
If you want to go through it, just yeah, honestly, if you want to go through this industry and you want to work in it, like be specific and like be flexible, but
Mm-hmm.
not to the point of compromising your health, your mental health, and just, be courageous, go out there, film stuff, repeat,
Yep. Rinse,
go
repeat.
get with people, do scene studies. Like if you this is a craft,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to train that muscle as much as possible. So when you get that opportunity, you're ready to go.
Absolutely. Having said that, if somebody wanted to collaborate with you, how would they do that? How would they get a hold of you? You have an agent?
Yes. Well, I have a talent agent, the Muse here in Ottawa.
Right.
Yeah, if you wanna like, you can reach out to me directly. I have my email address, Dimitri, Dimitri 619 Dynamite, Dynamite @gmail.com. You can add me on Instagram at Abu Acting, so ABOUACTING. And I'm on Facebook as well, my full name,
Mhm.
Dmitri Abdul Nour. Yeah, feel free to send me a message. What I really like, as you put it in the intro, I like to be specific when it comes to storytelling.
Mhm.
To me, I'm learning more and more that character is the driving force of everything
Mhm.
in the movie. It affects lighting, it affects color correcting, it affects the acting, it affects the costume design, the story,
Mhm.
the way you shoot it, all that kind of stuff. I know that a lot of filmmakers they get inspired by paintings and stuff like that and
Mhm.
visual imagery. I'm a
Mhm.
very visual person.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like in some of my short films, there's not a lot of dialogue because I try to well, as best as I can
Mhm.
to drive the story forward.
Mhm.
Um, but
That's the
yeah,
number
if
one rule of filmmaking: you show, don't tell. Mhm.
So there's a lot of potential that I see in Ottawa. I'm
Mhm.
willing to help the vision again, helping the visions of the producers and the directors to bring their vision of their projects forward.
Mhm.
And I'm here to assist
Yeah.
emotionally, mentally, physically, all that.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this show is to network the talent that exists here, get people knowing each other and knowing what they do. Yeah, there's such a wealth of talent in this region that it's quite staggering. Anyone who wants to be a filmmaking creative in any aspect, you'll feel right at home in this region. Ottawa, Gatineau, Eastern Ontario, you name it. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dan. Everybody, all the listeners, take care of yourselves. Happiness, security, and fun. I wish this upon all of you.
Yeah, and I wish you the best too, man. In your creative pursuits, in creating and acting.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Take care
Yeah,
of yourselves, everybody. God bless.
absolutely. And thank you everyone for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you in the future.